Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Bad Publicity. What's the fancy word for minus? Sans? Sans?
Thoughts.
Sans Greg Nording.
Sounds.
Sans Greg Nording. Nord Runner is MIA.
He's off the grid.
So we um, got this handsomely dressed fellow here, best dressed in the game. Uh,
Thanks.
we are accompanied by Hollis tonight.
I.
Those that don't know him, why don't you give us a breakdown? What's your play styles? What are you playing? And I don't know, a couple thoughts that popped into your head.
Hey guys. Yeah, I'm actually from Alabama here. I live here in Huntsville, Alabama. I met Chris and Caleb, or yeah, as you know him as Bad Publicity at Worlds this year. Right now, I am playing Replicating Perfection and a Kate prepaid voice pad deck because I'm so original. Uh, and that's probably everything that you really care about, I think.
Any fancy twists in those decks or?
The RP deck I've switched a little bit to be a little bit more punishing. So it's running a shock and a Shikuyu kind of as a unique balance to I guess mitigate our the archives runs. With the Kate prepaid voice pack deck, the most interesting thing I'm doing and messing around with, thanks to Spags, is that I am not running Femme Fatale right now, completely without Femme.
So Spags talked you out of them.
So I think it's just a card that it's not bad. It's just in the current competitive meta, I think it may be less useful right now. So as a result, I'm playing around with it without it being in the deck, and it's actually it's almost like I don't miss it as much as you would think, I guess. So
What went in instead of it?
instead, I decided to go the route of having two legwork. That was really the big difference there. Is versus an NEH matchup, you want to make sure that you're able to hammer the HQ early and then continue to hit R&D as often as possible. So having that kind of balance there and really needing to see that legwork in the deck as early as you can to stop that basically them avalanching and winning the game outright. It was just necessary.
Good. A funny comment in the chat here. It says, "I feel sorry for the viewers who come in late and go, something seems different about Nord this week."
Surprise! It's been the best kept secret in Netrunner.
Is there anything? What about your replicating perfection deck here? Are you any tricks up your sleeve there? Are you Mishu no Shin turn one go?
No, 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 no. This is a very it's a similar deck to what you've seen before. Um, I think people like Dan, who actually was the world, who is the world champion, excuse me, made popular. Um, the primary difference really is just that there's a few card differences. So that cards like Shikyu, which give them a negative agenda point or they take X amount of net damage. Most people when they play RP, they're sort of automatically not prepared to take any kind of net damage. They assume that that's not a risk they have to really deal with. So you throw them a quick negative point. It could mean that they have to score more agendas out of hand as the game goes on, or out of your deck and out of your HQ as the game goes on. Otherwise, you risk a direct game victory if they're not ready, which is, they're going to take the negative. They're not going to, just lose the game outright, obviously. So,
Sounds cool. Sounds cool. What about you missed last week, so why don't you tell the people your opinions on some of the runner cards from All That Remains? Are you doing some Leela Patel testing like the rest of us?
well, so I really want to like Leela Patel. I think like a lot of people. I, th-
But
but the issue is that so in most cases when you face a runner that does something drastically different to your game to your standard gameplay, part of being a good court player is, you have to adapt. So knowing that Leela has the potential to actually go the route of knocking unrezzed ice back to your hand, I think very commonly, when a Leela deck runs against you, you'll probably rationalize, hey, I'll just res everything. Just res every piece of ice that's out. Or don't overextend. So don't install, more ice than you're ready to pay for. And I think overall that can be something that's actually pretty easily mitigated. However, I have seen games where, if you're not adapting and you're not playing, against her, you're not paying attention to that, it's devastating. I mean, she'll wreck your plan, and that alone is just good enough by itself. So I don't know. I think my issue is I don't know how to play her in a way that isn't an existing. That I don't know how to build around her that isn't an existing criminal deck, right? Because it's basically good stuff criminal. Like every card you play in criminal is the same thing you'd probably play with her.
Yeah, like what's the criminal current? The only install one ice per turn.
Unscheduled maintenance.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of decks throw that card in there for Leela.
Right.
That it gives them the chance to Leela regroup. Doesn't let you only put one ice out. Maybe
Yeah.
you run where it's not, grab a quick little score, boom, pop that ice back. I mean, it's very dangerous early board state. Caleb, you want to talk about you actually played in a mini little Winter League tournament already that had a couple people show up with this, right?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I didn't get to face off against him. But exactly what you're talking about, Hollis, was like I have a really funny feeling that I know one person that played against it, and he unfortunately did not adhere to that game plan. I think he just kind of went about business as usual, and he got ruined, like just ruined his day.
Yep.
And I think slipped him a bye because it dropped so low. But it's yeah, I feel the exact same way that you do, where there's even the possibility to use it to even I don't know, I guess kind of fool them into a false sense of security, because they could be like, okay, run there, steal that. Okay, well, bounce that. That's the only unres thing that you have, bounce that. And you're like, perfect, I didn't care about it anyway. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
I'm not giving my hand away or anything like that. Like, you can make it feel like it was a big hit to you, but it wasn't. There's ways that it can be played around.
Yeah, and I think that person, was also playing at Tenant Institute, so his stuff was getting bounced left, right, and center with all his
with counters on it and everything.
Yeah, so that's not
cool.
It's not really what you want to see, but
No. I was like, res it, man, just res it. Just going back to his hand, counters gone and everything.
So let's dive into the second half of this deck here. Give the people what they want. So first up, we got the Bifrost Array. When you score Bifrost, you may trigger the when scored ability of another agenda that is not a copy of Bifrost. I don't know why you would want to trigger another Bifrost anyway, but
Why not? Right?
Caleb, why don't you said you got that list that
Oh, and now I sunk it. Hang on, I'll find it again.
uh,
What do you want from me? There,
I want the half hour of prep work that we do before to actually to
okay,
mean
you ready?
something.
Are you ready? I got it. So, accelerated beta test, corporate war, Director Haas pet project, efficiency committee, executive retreat, priority rec, profiteering, project Wotan, and veterans program.
I think that's a very good list.
It's very comprehensive. Yeah, I think that does make a lot of sense. I can't think of any of those not having a when scored on it. So I'm sure the comments will light up if something's wrong. But that sounds about right.
Which one sticks out to you guys? Hollis, what the?
I would say the best, if it works the way I think I've read that it works, I think it's efficiency committee.
Getting the extra clicks?
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, I have to agree there. The most damaging to me is the beta test. I mean, how many times do I flub a beta test? Do I want to keep? Do I want 6 beta tests in my deck now? I don't know. I guess you got to hit 1 out of 6 sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think what's interesting about this card is that it's a one pointer.
Right.
And you look at some of these other ones, and some of the most powerful cards or agendas that we can put in are 1-pointers. But how many 1-pointers do you want in your deck? Like, do you want, this plus a Cronus project, plus, I don't even know what else. Director Haas's pet project, like another one. Like,
I think I'm just jumping in. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
no, that's the way we do it here.
I think the main issue I have with this agenda, and it's the same issue I have with a lot of one pointers in the game, is that in order for a 3-1, and I think someone else has said this, in order for a 3-1 to be worth putting in your deck, it has to be that impactful. You have to rationalize putting that 3-1 in your deck over an existing 3-2 or 4-2, or a 2-1. Most of the 2-1s that are in the game are just great. Hostile takeover, you get a bad pub, it doesn't matter. You're gaining 5. You love it. Breaking news, you scored out of hand. It's a free for you when you draw it. It's a free point. 3-1s because they give you less points, and in this particular case, it's only trying to magnify an existing 3-2 that you could probably go ahead and just try to score anyway for more points. That makes the card a tough sell for me to put it in an HP deck. I'd rather try to just score the other accelerated beta test or the other efficiency committee with the existing combo cards that are there that I'm using them with, as opposed to scoring the Bifrost Array to work that in somehow.
Yeah, I see that, but I still I think this can be your only 3-pointer or 1-pointer in the deck, right? Like
Yeah,
you don't want to have like 12 or 13 agenda cards. You still want to keep that agenda density low, so you don't want to dilute too much. I saw a nice comment from Brandon um, here from the Corp Draw dudes. Someone at our store is using Bifrost in CI, so he only needs one efficiency committee to score his 7 points in one turn.
oh wow. Hmm.
I mean, that's pretty crazy.
That is a super. That's a super combo. Wow.
Yeah, I don't, I can't comment on the effectiveness of that because I'm not really a CI player. I've steered clear of that combo.
That whole
Goodness.
mess, eh?
That's. Uh, there's no good way to describe what CI is. Some kind of spaghetti twisted mess. I don't know. Anything else you guys think about um, Bifrost? I think it's incredibly powerful, and it is. I think it's a nice addition in HB.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't want to see this power in any other faction, considering what else is out there, right? Like, it's
Glacier HB decks, like I'm pretty sure they're using the balance of the 3-2s and the 5-3s. So they probably won't need this. But yeah, for that, I agree with you there. For those fast advanced decks, like a CI or just like a standard HB engineering the future fast advanced deck, where you're gonna have like 1 or 2 1-pointers. I can see this being slotted as opposed to like the Gila hands they're using to do something to enhance the agendas already in the deck. And I mean, especially with efficiency committee, that's just golden. I think that's probably the best. I think it's the best use of the agenda.
the CI jank is super real. Yeah, I know that it does. It does definitely suck to play against. Um, you really have to switch your style up. I think I think I'm happy that CI has like there are multiple builds of it now. There's not just that one that everybody was playing back in the day as I'm going to score everything quick one turn or try and do some kind of scorched combo. There's a lot more play and pieces to it, which is weird because Fantasy Flight keeps poking the bear, I think, on it, giving it HQ or IQ, compared with Panic Button and just so strange. Um, Hollis, you good with this one then?
Um, man, I'm so harsh on everything. For me, it's very meh. Um, it I'm limited with the deck that I can use it in, I guess. So I'll have to play with it more. I'm gonna say it's okay.
Yeah,
That's how I feel. It's okay.
we would get Caleb's final words, but he's he's gone.
Oh no. Oh, no.
This is this is becoming one of those days.
Hey,
I think he's coming back.
Yeah,
There's
good.
I can hear you guys.
I hear something. You just an intense picture.
We're happy you made it back, man. We thought you got beat up or something.
Yeah. Let's break out into the new constellation ice here. Um, first up we have Sagittarius. This is HB's contribution to the ice type. If successful, trash one program. If your strength or trace is strength 5 or greater, trash one program. Really, really weird ice, I think. The trace starts at a 2. So as soon as you put it up to a 3, you're going to trigger that second, or as soon as you pay 3 extra, you're going to trigger that second ability there to be able to trash that second program if the subroutine's not already broken. How do you guys feel about traces on ice like this? You guys behind Sagittarius here?
It's obvious comparison is what, like Itchy 1, right?
Yeah.
So okay, so if we look at it's all trace, right? So it's obviously, it seems like it's really well suited in like an NB making news deck that automatically gets those credits.
So
And
just
so
to jump in quick there, do you feel that all of these are like I feel that that's going to be a blanket statement, right? Like
yeah,
any of these constellations, right? So we've Taurus, Sagittarius, Gemini's coming up. I feel that, like, don't you feel that the designer is just playing an influence game? He can't give it all to NBN, so he's got to break
right.
it up, put it in other suites and stuff. So yeah, so sorry, continue your thoughts there, man.
Well, no, you're absolutely right. Like when we get to the other ice that are like similar to this, it's obvious that they get enhanced by traces. It's weird though that this one sits in like a similar slot that I'd want to like have it compete versus Itchy for that same slot. Whereas the other ones, I think I could not put in an NB making news deck and I'd be all right with it. This one in particular really stands out because it does trash programs and it would fill that same influence slot as like Itchy. It might be better in that aspect just because if it's a face check, they can click through it, and I'm very likely I'm gonna kill one, and I'm gonna try to kill the second program if I can. Whereas with Itchy, they likely would just click through those trash to program subs. I bump the trace, but we all know a tag and the brain without anything to punish it really doesn't do a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah.
Caleb.
It's so each one is it's a 5 for 4 as well, right? 5
Yeah.
res for strength. Yeah, if I remember correctly, it's it's unmimicable. But yeah, it's just kind of nice that again, because it can't be clicked through and because you can just spend the 5 and get rid of one for sure. I feel that if they're face checking, chances are they might not have 2 programs out, so the paying 5 would just be more likely enough. I doubt it's going to get to a point where they're face checking and they have like 2 out and one of them isn't a sentry breaker already. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's I think it's good because it's like a guaranteed trash program. But then so is Roto Turret, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can definitely get behind a sentry that's not like 3 or less. At least it's like that one, like fingertips away from a mimic reach.
Yeah.
But I've never been a fan of trace subroutines really. I try
No.
and steer clear of that. 5 to res, and you're not guaranteed that subroutine's going to go off if they can outpay you, right? I guess you could boost it.
Yeah. You
like
boost it to
get
5.
to make sure you at least hit that. So
Yeah.
that's at least nice that you're getting something out of your money. But like you said, most people aren't base checking without at least a sentry, right? Old school Netrunner.
Right.
And so you have your sentry on the table and maybe not another program.
Yeah. So Ichi would be much better in that sense, right? Because at least there's the brain damage coming from it.
Yeah, and in this case, it's not really too taxing because of the only one sub, right?
No. Yeah, the fact that it is just the one sub means that when they start, if their goal is to get that mimic or that fairy out, fairy is irrelevant, but like the Mimic or the Femme Fatale out early with whatever number of support cards they have to be able to break those subs, it's just a cheaper card than Inchi. I mean, it really is just straight cheaper.
I think it's nice. I think the game to open up a different form, but I don't see them being used that heavily. And
Right.
I think at 2 influence apiece and being spread out across all the factions, you're not really going to be able to make some kind of constellation ice set. You're just going to have to pick what your deck needs and go with it. So far, the Taurus I think is the best one. I'd rather be trashing it's the hardware, right? Taurus trashes
Right.
hardware. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the biggest bite that you can get from this right now.
My question is to both of you. So, if Sagittarius simply had one more added to its trace, do you think that puts it over in your head? Do you think it puts it over that hump to where it's too good, or is that card now definitely worth playing as opposed to maybe worth playing? One trace.
I think it makes it good.
Yeah.
Not overpowered. That would be nice.
I would have to agree, and the only reason I say that is because I base a lot of my traces off. I think let's look at the 2 best runners in the game, like without argument, say Andy and Kate.
Right.
Both of them start with a link, so right away, they're already that much better at fighting trace subroutines. I mean, one isn't bad, but you have it's not great, but that's one extra shaved off the trace value, right?
Yeah.
Like every run. So I don't know. I mean, I think for me personally, I would have liked 2 subroutines on there.
Right. Maybe
Right.
2 trace 2s even.
Yeah, something like that. Just to micro nibble a little more of their economy away.
Right.
It's neat, but it's going to be this niche. Yeah, the chat is agreeing here. A lot of thumbs up for Taurus. Um, it's neat, but it's niche, and we all think it's going to find its home in NBN. Connor, why don't you start off with this one? This is the one that you were really excited about. This is Hostile Infrastructure going into the Jinteki cards. Runner trashes a Corp card, do 1 net damage.
Yeah. So a rules question I had on this is I'm relatively positive this does not go off on noise, because I think the noise makes the Corp trash the card, not the runner trash the card.
That's 100% correct. Whenever the runner trashes a card.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So I can tell you I have it right here. The wording on noise is whenever you install a virus, the Corp trashes the top card of R&D.
Yeah. So it's not affected by him.
No.
But I think that this card is wonderfully phenomenal. I mean, super expensive to put out, but also super expensive to trash, with the cost of 5, including a card, because when they trash this, they're also going to have to take a damage. I think that this would be absolutely fantastic, and I'm definitely going to be playing around with this like crazy, because I just think of things like when they hit that snare, and then normally it's the auto trash and it's gone, the cerebral overriders, these sorts of things where they just want to just get it gone, so they never have to worry about it again. But now making that decision could very well end the game that turn. I mean, how many times have you been playing PE and they are 1 card away from death at all times, right? This is that bump. This is that Colbert bump that'll put them right over the So,
Colbert.
Yeah, that's how I feel about this, and I think that it's a great card, and not for every build, but I think that if there's a way to work it into something that's more of a slow play, I think it's good. I think we got it.
I think the other wording that we have to be aware of is on the Wayland, the reuse. Trash any number of cards from HQ, gain 2 credits for each card trashed. So that is actually a corporation card, and you are trashing it yourself. So I mean, that's why I think they put specifically whenever the runner trashes, right? So
Yeah.
um, the one thing I like about this card here is that um, it seems that Fantasy Flight is really pushing a horizontal play. Like we really, apart from NEH and their stack of remotes, there's not really a horizontal play going on. I mean, Jinteki can kind of do it with if you let them get out of control with their sundews and medical whatevers now, and it's but this is opening up a different style of play and a new direction for the game to go. And I think it's very interesting what people will do with their trash costs now, because it makes you go back and look at all those lower assets that were even like 3 to res, 1 to trash, that you're like, I wonder now, like now maybe you can play miners, Melange Mining Corps in a Jinteki build again, just to mine for 7, and man, that's going to cost them a net damage that and a credit to trash now. It's not like run and hey, trash those miners, trash that Jackson Howard. It's like net damage, net damage, net damage, and that's going to be especially against the Jinteki PE style of build, decisions that are not going to be made lightly.
Yeah, I imagine just like the games where you wind up with 2 of these things on the table. I mean, it's what kind of decisions can the runner make at that point, right? They have to get rid of one of them at least, right? So they're going to have to build their economy for that if they're running on a tight budget. Get in there, get rid of one, take 2 damage for the first one, and then if they do want to dive into that second one to try and prevent the death from that, that's 3 damage, 2 runs, and $10, right? That's huge. That's a huge swing. So, yeah, I think it's great.
I think, and every time I've played like a Jinteki PE deck, and this is of course playing against things that are usually in the more competitive like aspect of things, like a common strategy that people use against me and that I use against Jinteki decks tends to be, if I siphon them and get rid of all of their credits, that means that all those threats deactivate. They're not useful, whatever. This card is like in my opinion, it's a really it has the same unique advantage as a card like, really any asset has, like Sansan. When you account siphon an NBN deck sitting at 7, well, obviously, that Sansan's getting res. They're going down to 1, and now that account siphon is not as fruitful. This does the same thing for Jinteki. It's expensive, but it fills that role. When they decide to do that siphon on you, and then hit your R&D and HQ and remove those assets that are really great for you, you're still hitting them with that kind of House of Knives style of damage. Plink, here's another one. Plink, here's another one. So I really dig this because I know that they've given us cards out of faction like Chrysium Grid and Sealed Vault, and even and other cards that we can use to play around, like cards like Account Siphon and Vamp. But I feel like hostile infrastructure, especially in a Jinteki deck filled with trashable assets that your opponent just wants to remove from your hand to make it safer, it's excellent. It's just it's a well-designed card, and even though it's expensive, I think it has a really great spot here. I really do.
Andre raises a good point, and it's nice to see him back in the chat room this week after missing last week. Have you guys seen the industrial genomics? Am I pronouncing that one right? It's the new Jinteki identity that's coming. It says the trash cost of each card is increased by 1 for each face down card in the archives. And I think that's going to be really crazy.
Wow. Jeez. Oh man. I mean, it looks like it's going to become so dangerous to do anything. There's specific lines of play versus a PE deck if you want to survive, and you don't have a lot of deck. You can't recycle your deck, and so now it's getting to a point where you can't run everything that's advanced, and you can't run everything that's not advanced. You can't siphon a 0 and just trash because that's going to do more net damage. So it's a very scary time, very very scary time to be a runner versus Jinteki. Period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we lost your visual, I think here,
Oh,
but that's all good. You can still hear. Um, yeah. Do you guys have anything else you want to say about Hostel?
No, I'm good, man. I said my piece.
I think it's gonna be look out for this card. It's coming. Hollis, you good on that?
yeah, I heard you.
Cool. Yeah, we got I guess you're stuck in a picture loop.
Yeah, it's gray circle for me, and then your picture shows up, then it goes away again. But I haven't had you since I came back though.
Hollis is guru. Confirmed. says the chat. All right, guys. Let's. This is the Gemini. This is the next constellation one. Gemini has a lower res cost. It's still a century. It's 3 res and it's 5. There you go.
Yeah, you got him.
If successful, do 1 net damage. If your trace is 5 or greater, do 1 net damage. This is also a 2 splash. I don't really know, like I said, like even this one here, I don't know how I feel about it because I always feel that these kind of janky trace kills and things like that, when you want it to work, it's never going to work in your favor. Caleb, you want to, is this going into your
No.
build at all?
No, because this is a maximum of 2 damage that I'm gonna have to pay into probably quite heartily in order to make it happen. Whereas you could get 3 damage from a Sarugi, or you could get all damage from a Koimanu. So these are things that I would much rather pay for, especially since once again it's a sentry. Granted, strength 5, that's cool, I get it. But it only really stops the mimic threat. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's not. This is not a winner for me, but it's okay, and I'm sure it's gonna find a home somewhere. This might be an MBN one coming up, but I don't know. So it's 2 influence pips.
But I think it wants to be at home in Jinteki because of the net damage. But I don't think Jinteki's gonna want to see traces like this.
No, they don't. They straight up do not. Because as soon as you spend, what does it start at 2? So as soon as you spend your 3 to bring it up to 5 for 1 net damage, you've just spent the 3 to res and then the 3 to bring that strength up. You don't want to keep making that investment in order to make this ice keep working for you, right? It's only 2 damage. It's not going to win you the game probably. You're almost better off in that scenario with any other one of the damaging ice. That would be either cheaper with 1 damage, or a little bit more expensive, but a one-time cost for a ton more damage, right? Minimum 1 more 3, right?
Yeah, and there's no other faction that wants to just take those tiny cuts at you.
Yeah.
So I don't see it in a making news because I don't think making news really cares about doing 1 net damage to you.
No, and I think the one saving grace that I think. Every time I look at these cards, I'm sorry, I'll preface this. Every time I look at these cards, I think that they give it an obvious disadvantage, and then they go, well, but this is the only card like it that has this particular sort of strength. So that should give it merit. And the strength of this card is that it's a 3 cost, but 5 strength sentry. But that's garbage if your trace is weak. If the trace never fires, then who cares? The strength is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's what happens most of the time here is that, like you said, Jameson, you're not going to put it in a MBN deck because they don't do enough tiny hits that are significant. And, Jinteki, if I'm already going all in on hostile infrastructure because that's what I'm doing, hey, there's really no point in me throwing a lot of money, back into another trace to do 1 net. There's other options. I mean, I could play Mamba, which would probably be a better option than playing this card. Yeah, I would rather play Mamba than this, and I don't think Mamba is even that great. So that being the case, I mean, I can't rationalize putting it in a deck right now.
You know, the interesting point in the chat here, um, Majesty, he says, I just think at one influence, it's at least a discussion. You know, I think, you know, maybe we would have a different conversation if it was one influence. Um, you could see some, you know, maybe Wayland, you know, chipping away. Wayland's always looking for a different century to be in the mix, but um, or they used to be. I don't know if we're gonna rely on the Morphice now, but I don't know. Gemini is the least one so far that I've been pleased, or the one that I'm not happy with the most out of all the ones we've seen so far. That being said, side thread is, when do you think net damage protection becomes more of a thing? Do you think we need to start putting in net shield or feedback filters? You know, a couple talking with the guys that a lot of the European players, Jinteki PE is and net damage is a big thing over there. And you look at uh, you know, some of them when they came over, they thought there was going to be a huge scene of net shield like there is over in or feedback filters like in Europe. But it's just I don't know, North America, we do not use, I mean, other than Deus Ex, right?
Right.
Like let's not count that one out. Like, and this is an AP, so if you want to waste your Deus Ex ripping through a Gemini, go ahead. But I mean, in the chat, is anyone you guys using net shields or you know, feedback filters? Are you paying to divert net damage? I know I'm not.
Is there anybody in the chat room who's from across the pond there?
Maybe not at this time. All right, so I don't think there's anything else really to say about Gemini. You guys want to put any finishing touches on that one? Yes, see, Rob said the only Deus Ex always in a Shaper deck. Yeah. So Gemini, be what it be. Same as the other ones, is we'll have to see how they all flush out. The most, or not the most, but a very interesting one here is the license acquisition. We give MBN another 1-point agenda for 3 advancements. When you score, install and res an asset or upgrade from archives or HQ, ignoring all costs. Now, this is a little bit of a spin put on the interns, right? I'm sensing some excitement in the top corner here. Circle takes the square. I guess the real question is I mean, I think it's great. I love putting interns in my NBNs. Put a sand out, it gets trashed, you bring it right back out. This one here actually reses it. Yeah. But who's taking out breaking news for this?
That's the $1 million question. Because every time, well, I see this agenda, and all I keep thinking about is the Fantasy Flight guys sitting around a table going, okay, what can we make in order for them to stop playing Astro Scripts? Right? And then they start coming up with ideas like this that could potentially make a whole new type of deck that like just blows the old NVN out of the water, just by this one little trick of constantly recurring things and putting it in for free. And who knows what could be made with this ability, because it's a fantastic ability to have. But at the moment, it's just not better than what is already discovered, which is the NEH and the Astro Script train and the breaking news to finish the game off. You know, it's just, yeah. Where do you go from there? Fantasy.
You know, Rob's comment is, like we've said a billion times, NBN's majority reason is not because of the ability to throw tags on somebody. It's because it's a 2-for-1. You fast track that up on a sand for wins or the last Astro Strip token. You can't do that as soon as they put another number on there. Andre says that Clot is coming and NBN will need to make choices. Um, but I don't know. I think I think NBN is going to be the fast advanced identity, and there's nothing that's going to change that. And that is because they've decided to put AstroScript in the core, and the core will not be rotated out. Sansan is in the core will not be rotated out. It's the fast advanced way. Um, I don't know. Breaking news in the core will not be rotated.
Yeah. I mean, they did an excellent job, I think, of making this agenda so juicy. Because if you look at the obvious synergy here with how this agenda works, when you compare it to like a card like Architect, when Architect triggers, that Sansan that got trashed is coming back out, and even if it's not rezzed, it's out, and that by itself is just ridiculous. So the ability to get out of Sansan City Grid, pop that back on a server, and res it immediately, your runner will just poop their pants immediately. If they weren't already going all out to win, they're pooping their pants immediately when this happens.
Yeah.
But I agree with everything Caleb and you and everyone in our chat is saying. That agenda spread right now for NBN is so solid right now. And there really isn't a lot of reason to make a lot of changes. Regardless of how good this card is, it just won't be as good as scoring a AstroScript or a Bill or a Breaking News in that same agenda space. It just won't be. So guys, but I have the idea though. So here we go. We're gonna work with this.
All right.
We're gonna do hostile infrastructure, Gemini, license acquisition, and they're just gonna crap themselves every time we do 1 net damage when they trash my Sansan. That's how you win, right? That's a win. That's a winning deck. I got it.
So you're just going to be you're just going all in on the new cards.
All in. Making News is coming back in a big way. Mark the words. You heard it here first.
Oof, bold statements. Bold
No,
statements.
no. I don't think so. The Johnny inside it happened.
All right. Well, I mean, I do think license acquisition, and unfortunately, it's a reoccurring theme here when looking at cards. It is a really good card, but it doesn't compete with what we have already. And it's going to need some other cards to complement a build and take NBN in a different way. And I don't think anybody on this panel sees that happening.
No, because that way has to be better than the current way, which is like super hard to do.
It's one of those situations where if you make a deck that you want to be interesting and different and is still competitive, you will find a way. But if we're talking the most competitive, the most efficient things, it's not. It is not going to be. Compared to Breaking News, which you can combo into closed accounts and Freelancer and Scorched Earth, sorry. It's just not going to do that.
Daily Business Show. Now, this is an asset, and the first time you draw a card each turn, draw 1 additional card. Add 1 of the drawn cards to the bottom of R&D. High trash cost at 4, low res cost, low splash. I know Caleb has a problem with low influence costs in NBN, so why don't we let him go first?
No, not with this card. This is fine.
Oh.
This is fine. Yeah, because it's like, well, it's just basically a Corp Lee, right? But it's like mandatory. So I would assume that it's good. I mean, the thing is, like, if you're gonna have this, then typically, like, for me personally anyway, I would definitely need to have something in the deck that shuffles the deck, because what's not good early game is definitely good late game, and you're gonna want to see it back and not just have it on the bottom of your library there. So, I mean, but Jackson does it. So, and Jackson is in every deck anyway. So, ta-da, combo solved. But yeah, if you're looking to do that and just to try and get the prime draws, then why not? I mean, you're paying less for this thing than the runner is to trash it, so it's kind of a win-win all the way around. It's just finding that card slot for it when all the NBN decks are so tight already.
So that's what I look at this card, and I think again, is this another way that the designers and Lucas are using the influence? You know, they're like NBN. I don't know if they really need something like this right now. So you know, let's put it in NBN, make it a one influence card because it can be pretty powerful, and we'll move it. You know, maybe we'll see it in an HB Glacier or a different kind of Glacier build that you can put this down, protect it, and be able to kind of Mr. Lee a little bit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I dig it, man. I really dig. I mean, it's. I had. I almost had got into an argument with a local player in my household about this particular card. But basically, so if you look at the way Jackson Howard works, you know, it's obvious why that card is excellent. And so this card doesn't. It does not do the same thing as Jackson, but there's nothing wrong with getting quality control in the draws that you make per turn. And I think this cost is my stance has changed a little bit on it the more I've thought about it. The cost I think is actually worth it. I don't think it's so bad that it's not worth considering. And I agree with you 100%. This definitely seems like a card that I don't think NBN needs, especially not near the hub. They probably don't even need this. But something else, you know, that actually uses that, you know, you want to have better quality control over. I think this card fills that slot. And one influence is not bad. I think where I struggle is trying to find the deck that needs it right now. I mean, what do you guys think? What's a deck you think could use this really well?
Any other deck, really. I mean, but the thing is, like, so is the accurate draw more important than X card that's in the deck that is using up that influence, right?
Right.
Got to find that balance. I think that, because, yeah, what is it? The thing is asset cast. Like, yeah, there's like no way to search for this thing or anything like that. So it's like you're looking for 2 to 3 copies at least if you want the thing to go off. Typically with cards like this that cycle to the bottom, having 3 is ideal because then if you draw the other one, you can just get rid of it and there's no dead draws.
So are we talking about the first time you draw a card each turn?
Yeah, so it's on your...
But is that the mandatory draw, or is it the first time you draw outside of mandatory draw?
No, I think it's the mandatory draw. Because it's straight up so the first time you draw a card, well, my mandatory draw is when I draw a card. So otherwise it would be like the first time you spend a click to draw a card. You know what I mean?
So I mean, this is...
Yeah.
So it's just strange if they said the first time you draw, right? Like, because
Well,
obviously you're just using it off on your mandatory and then never again.
It's instead of saying once per turn, right? Because that would be the alternative. Once per turn, you could use this ability, but then if you give them the ability to choose which draw or making it a you may do this, then it might make it too good.
So if that's the case, if that's using it on your mandatory draw, I think this becomes really, really powerful in the Glacier builds. The ability to see what you or bury those agendas. You know, drop 2 cards. Oh, I don't need this agenda right now. Put that down there. But you know, like you said, you don't want to get to a point where all your agendas are now at the bottom of the game and you just prolonged the game for yourself.
Yeah.
So you know, maybe a nice HB fast advance. You know, where they're, you know, they have their Jackson, or you know, you have you know, fast tracks or something in there just to pull those agendas later on. Or you know, we will see later on that they are making search cards available for corporations. So you know, you'll be able to get some of that stuff if you don't need it now, dig it out later.
Yeah.
I think this is a really good card. I like the 4 trash cost. I really like that. At least it's a little bit deterring, but this is a card that I think it hits the table. You want, as a runner, you want to get this out of the way as quickly as possible.
Yeah, like if you don't have their R&D on lockdown, then you're gonna want to get rid of this, like, immediately. So it's got benefits.
Yeah.
And just because people are mentioning this in chat, I noticed that I just things I haven't thought about. They're absolutely right. Like effects that. Well, let me check to be certain. Yeah, effects that would somehow trigger you to draw on the runner's turn also work for this. I can't think any off the top of my head that do that. Panic button?
Yeah, there's one that makes them draw like 2 cards or something. Is it 2
Oh,
cards?
that's a new shard. One of the new shards does that, I think. Utopia shard?
No, I think that puts them in the grave. Oh no.
Oh.
Wait,
Well,
now
if you trash it, the Corp has to draw 2 cards. That one.
because yeah, no, Utopia cards. Trash Corp discards 2 cards from their HQ at random. Yeah.
Pretty much what it seems like also will happen is that in the event Laramie Fisk ever finally gets printed, this card is really great.
Yeah. If he ever gets printed, eh?
If he ever gets printed, this card will be amazing.
He will. My vote mattered, damn it.
I think we'll see him next cycle. I think he's coming in the Sand cycle. He should be at least. Daily business show. Eden Shard. Rob's throwing it out there. Is what it is. I think it's a great card.
Yeah.
Boom. Wayland. Into the Wayland. Superior Cyberwalls. Superior Cyberwalls is a 1-point agenda that I really think Wayland players can get behind in especially the Blue Sun builds that we're seeing. All barrier ice gaining a strength is in Wayland is a lot more valuable than the Codegate 1 in Jinteki. Like, Wayland is barriers. I don't think Codegates, or I don't think Jinteki Codegate. I don't see that connection as much as I know Wayland is barriers. So I think you're going to automatically get an easy boost out of this, and you're going to be able to pull some money for the res barriers. What do you guys believe this?
Take it away, Hollis.
Okay, well, about those superior cyber walls. So, again, we're back to that issue with 3 1s. But Wayland does it really sexy, right? Because they have, Posted Bounty. And Posted Bounty, of course, usually I think when you score a Posted Bounty and you use that ability on it, it's basically going to be game ending. Otherwise, it's just a point. This persists throughout the game unless somehow they come out with a card that gets rid of it, or it's forfeited. But I'm all over the place because I honestly don't know. Like, I mean, this should be good, but in the majority of the newest builds for like Wayland that I've seen, the ice walls run, and then you get curtain wall. I think for like the oversight AI Blue Sun combo. Hadrian's actually isn't run as often. Hive is decent, but Hive becomes a barrier that you eventually want to bounce back for pretty much the rest of the game, right? Like you don't want to put it back down when it only has 1 sub.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna pass. Go.
You know what? I'm getting a last minute beep in on the emergency bat phone. I call it the Spags hotline. He wants to make sure that we bring up the point about daily business show. Wayland Kildex, one of Barry Agendas, and Executive Boot Camps can search for that card. So he's comboing 2 cards in this play. So that's a very good play, and thanks for dialing that one in for us, Spags. Really appreciate
Spags.
Yeah, he always comes out of nowhere when you
those insights, eh?
Yeah.
It's like
I have to tell him, so the internet knows this. If you haven't met him, Spags is the best jerk on the internet you will ever meet. He is the best. Really nice guy. Really cool.
Glorious human being.
And if you don't know how to find him, just look at Facebook, and I'm sure he's liked like every post on there. Nobody likes more posts than that man.
No, it's because nobody reads as fast as that man. He's able to just blow through all Facebook in like half an hour.
Yeah.
The way Another way to find him is to post any runner deck that doesn't use Sure Gamble and just watch what happens. Watch it.
Did you try? Is that how you chum the
Oh no,
water?
I would not. No, I don't want to test those waters. I've just seen it happen, and it was. Don't do it. Just follow my advice and don't do it.
All right, so back on Superior Cyberwalls. Caleb, were you throwing your 2 cents on it?
All I can do is mirror what you said. I mean, this ice is kind of better. If you need a 1-point agenda in Wayland, then you're obviously reaching for hostile takeover. If you need another one for some reason and you're tagging, then obviously you're going to go with the posted bounty. But then there's this guy. If you're building a deck that is it's just rife with barriers, i.e. Blue Sun, then this is the one to take to fill that slot up. Just because you'll get way more out of it over time than you will for the one-time blast of credits plus, taking that bad pup.
Yeah,
So
I think hostile takeover. Something it might not be as needed in a Blue Sun.
oh, totally not. Totally.
So you can get the benefit of the barriers with this one.
Yeah, and typically with Blue Sun, you'll be able to. You don't need to blast an agenda out of hand with the hostile takeover. With this, you'll probably have something in the way so that they can't get to it. You'll make a scoring window, and then you'll hit this, and then that'll just make you even more scoring windows. So it's good. It's a great card, I think.
Nothing else to say about that one. Let's get on to the controversy one here. This is the one that was blowing up the internet like the Kim Kardashian picture.
Oh my.
This is Executive Boot Camp. Very strange card here. We got the the 0 to res, 3 to trash, 1 pip of influence. I really like these cards that have the dual uses. A trash effect and then an in-play effect. So when your turn begins, you may res a card, lowering the res cost by 1 credit, but a credit in trash, search R&D for an asset, reveal it, add it to HQ, shuffle up.
So I misspoke when I said that you can't search for Daily Business Show.
Yeah, well that's why.
That's what he's saying.
That's what he's saying. This one, this is your searcher. An asset to search for another asset. I think, like Spags was saying, Wayland kill decks are really going to love this card to be able to, partner with the Daily Business Show, burying their agendas, pulling out what they need here, right? Man, the one thing that we can say sucks is that it is a trash to use.
I like it. I mean, I wish I had more to say. The advantages of this card are are obvious, right? Because for Blue Sun, if you want to, you can res a card immediately, paying 1 less. When you bounce it back, that technically means you gained a credit automatically in addition to the bounce from this card. And then, just as Spag said, if the goal here is a kill deck and you want to have card quality over quantity, then searching out the Daily Business Show, putting it in play, and forcing them to spend money to reduce your card quality still works in your favor as the Corp going for that kill combo. So this seems like it synergizes real well. And also the cards to do this, it's pretty inexpensive. 0 to res, 2 to res. Because I haven't built something that uses both of these, I'm really interested in trying it. So if anyone's listening, and if you're in that chat, build this, and I will play you tonight. Not tonight, but build this so I can check it out. And because I want to see how well this combo really, how this synergizes, and see. I really, to me, that's kind of the testament of how good this card is. I can see it being used in other decks that have a lot of asset econ cards, but I don't know, man. This is another. I don't have a good opinion.
So I look at this, and something that comes to mind is so we've seen some, a lot of Blue Sun decks utilizing the root, and this could potentially, would this speed up a Blue Sun a little bit if you use this instead of the root? And also gives you obviously that added ability of being able to find something. So maybe you could even like cut down on the amount of routes you add and use this as the intermediary and then jump to the route afterwards. I don't know. I think it's cool. It's got a great ability and it's nice and cheap on the pips. So
Jackson's an asset, right?
yep.
Right.
Search for your Jackson.
Okay, I'm convinced. You've won me over. I'm gonna say that this card, in general, tutoring in this game, if it's not at too much of a cost, it's always good. It tends to be good in Netrunner. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say, even though I've never actually played with this, at a glance, I'm gonna say it's excellent. I'm gonna say this card is actually very good. And as decks come out using it, I think we're gonna see more of the reason why. I think.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to when I was talking about the Jinteki card that came out in this pack, the hostile infrastructure, and since Fantasy Flight is pushing a more horizontal game rather than that quick, fast advance, style. This card plays into it because you can be able to search for those assets that let you create those remote servers, going horizontal. I mean, Jinteki is all about their assets, and for one pip of fun, here you go, right? Like here's your asset searcher.
Yeah, but you got to reveal it though. So Jinteki's not always about that.
Why not? That's what Celebrity Gift does.
Yeah, I don't like Celebrity Gift.
Yeah, but you're strange. Is there anything about like tutoring up a snare, putting it in your hand, and then they know the snare's in your hand if they want in?
Yeah, but then it's like you just pulled one out of R&D, so you made it safer for them to go there. I don't know. It's all weird because Jinteki's all pure head games, right? So this is giving them any confidence to go anywhere else is typically not great, especially when you reduce the chances of them actually hitting a trap by yanking it out somewhere, putting it somewhere else. They now know where it is, hence why I don't like Celebrity Gift. Celebrity Gift tells them exactly where not to go, right? Mm-hmm. So it saves them time.
It's very nice to see the executive boot camp have also the trash instead of the click, right? At least you're getting it up and can probably get use out of it. Yep. It's not being trashed as quickly as it would be if it was the click. I think if it was credit and click, people would run it and right away and force you to get rid of it.
Yeah.
But then, how useful do you guys feel that when your turn begins, you may res a card, lowering the cost by 1? Like, is that really the key to this card here, or is that just something they've stitched on?
I think it's on there. Well, it's saving you money. Again, this is mostly about Blue Sun or hosing Patel. If Patel gets out of control, then here you go. Right? Make sure that everything's just rezzed up and rezzed up for cheap, which is exactly what you would want if you're facing off against her.
Yeah. It's nice. It synergizes well with Architect. Guarantees a sand every time. That's a good point there, William.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rob.
Because NBN needs to be faster.
Yeah. Rob threw out a comment here, and he said it's just another way to, I'll say, mess with indexing.
Good point. Shuffles, baby. It's all about those shuffles.
Yeah.
I've been quiet for like 2 minutes, listening to you guys, reading the chat, and just thinking about Adonis campaign and Eve campaign, and then Melange and everything I can use with this, and I just like it way more than I initially thought 2 minutes ago. Like I basically went from being like meh, it's better than average, and then going okay, it's great, and now I'm like, oh my god, I want to make a deck right now, stuffing those in somehow to see how great they are. I mean, think about that. If you have 3 of those, I mean, if you have multiples of those out, can you use all of their triggers on one card?
When your turn begins, you raise a card lowering the res cost by 1. I don't see why.
Maybe not.
Um,
Okay,
Yeah,
because that'd be ridiculous. Come on, yeah, that
I
would
think
be
it's
ridiculous.
one.
But
So
it doesn't have the diamond, right? It's not.
no. So you could res 3 things if you had
Okay.
3 of them out, and each one would save you $1. But you couldn't res 1 and put $3 off it, right?
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think even when Mr. Skywarp here, he makes a good point that when your turn begins, you may res a card lowering the res cost by 1. This is also good way to stop blackmail decks, right?
Yep.
It's usually the only way to res ice is to have somebody run at it. At least now, I'm gonna pop at least one ice up over my remote, so nobody can try that sneaky business. Um, because bad publicity will be a thing once we get that runner that makes the Corp start with one. Guys, Executive Boot Camp could possibly be the card of the pack here.
I second that.
We have Lycan. Lycan, the Lycan. Did it take? Was someone gonna say it and I stole it?
No.
Lycan can be advanced, and it's the Morph Ice. Now this is going from Code Gate, or this is going from Century to Code Gate. Trash one program. Is a Century Morph worth a $6 res?
At strength 3. Yes, he knows. Mimic's going right through. Yogg is going right through. Like it's all just meh.
And all they would. This is another example. It's frustrating. It's another example where I think all they would have to do here is just increase the strength by 1.
1.
Just 1.
Yeah. Or at very minimal, like cut that res cost in half if they don't raise the strength, right? 3 for a 3 would have been fair in this particular case because when you advance it, all you do is change the type. You don't get any other benefit other than that. So, yeah. Man.
I think what can make this card good, and guys, I'm sorry to anyone listening. I'm sort of reaching. What I think would make this card really stand out to me is if there was a card that mid-run allowed me to place an advancement token, Matrix Analyzer? Allowed me to place an advancement token or counter on this while it was face down, so that when you played Mimic first and you thought you were safe, well, surprise, I res this card in a remote server, I immediately advance it, it's now a code gate, haha, I got you. That works, but I don't think there's anything in the game that works that way that would make something like this that useful.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're running Tenant Institute.
Yeah, and that's in between that turn, so it wouldn't even be effective, mid-run where it could really hurt them.
Yeah, man. This is like I'll say this is a bad card.
I think I think it's okay. I think I like the Morph Ice. Is a destroyer. You are trashing a program, so I mean maybe that's their way of balancing it up a little. But I mean, out of all the morphs, this one here is just. I mean, like, here's like Changeling was, barrier to Century, and that was a 5 to res, right? And I thought,
yeah.
And what's the strength on it?
And that ends the run,
What's the strength on that, James?
4.
Yeah. See, damn.
And it's. I don't know.
Wendigo is a 2 to res 4 strength code gate that effectively operates similarly to Chum. It goes in front of something, you name the ice that it has to break afterward, and either they go, okay, I'm confident I break Wendigo, or I pass when to go jack out. I mean, it does. It is the Wayland Chum, and even then, that seems to fit better in in comparison with other ice than this card.
Mm. And it seems that it's definitely that mid to late game play, right? Like, do you have any problems face checking this? To turn one, it's not ending the run at all.
Nope.
Nope.
I don't know about this card. I like the fact that Wayland is getting more advanceable ice. I do. I like the morph ice, but I just can't get behind the math on this right now. It's going to be very situational play.
I like the art.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. I'll give you that one. Let's go on to Snatch and Grab. Snatch and Grab is it's going to be one of those cards that I'm not sure. I'm mumbling around here. I don't know what's going on with this card. I can't tell if it's going to be played or if it's not going to be played.
Yeah.
I mean everybody plays connections.
But is it so worth it to take up a card slot just to maybe get rid of that connection or possibly give them a tag, right? Like you need to have I think it needs to go into a deck, if it's going to go into a deck that has like severe tag punishment. So then you're like, okay, well, now you're going to lose your connection because you definitely do not want to take this tag out of turn, right?
The first thing I could think of in this style is Cyberdex trials, right? Like everybody was playing data suckers and all the other virus tokens or cards, but nobody put Cyberdex trials in a tournament style of deck, right?
Yeah.
Everybody plays connections, but is anyone going to want to play Snatch and Grab? I mean, I think it's such a situational card that you already have to have it in your hand. You have to play it on turn one of your 3 clicks because you have to see how they react. You play it turn one. If success, you drop this trace and it starts at 3. You pump it up. If it's successful, I can trash a connection. Let's you say whatever Aesop or a K. Jones.
Aesop is the best case scenario, right?
Right. So they can take a tag to prevent this. So that's why you want to do it on turn one, because okay, so they don't have the money to pay for the trace. They take the tag, and then you're tagged. I'm gonna kill your resource anyway.
pay 2 to trash your connection.
Right. So that's already turns 1 and 2, and then 3 you can do whatever you want to do. But if you do this on your last click, or they take the tag and then bounce it turn 1 on their turn, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, what do you guys think? Like, it just seems weird, right? The fact that take 1 tag to prevent this, and then they can just burn you anyway.
I think I get the feeling from this card that it's possibly they're building now for something to come later, for like an archetype that they think might be coming down the pipeline, just because this is like right now it's so not worth it to put in your deck like at all. And like if you want to tag somebody, there's better ways to tag them. If you want to trash a resource, there's again still better ways to trash a resource just by simply tagging them easier and then getting rid of it that way. What other connection could you not trash because it's not a resource? What am I missing here?
For what? Say again?
Like, are there any connections that aren't resources?
No.
Yeah. So, big whoop. Just tag them.
It feels like I was playing a Blue Sun deck. I've been playing a Blue Sun deck similar to what was run from is it Timmy Wong, 3rd place?
Yeah.
And I threw in just because I had a spare card. When I saw Snatch and Grab, I said, I'll throw it in there. And in almost every case, it's been a bit unnecessary because if you look at the way Wayland decks are played now, a lot of them are just going the route of just using the mid-season replacements. because when you permatag them, you will basically forever get rid of any resource-based econ. And you have to beat the trace anyway. You have to beat them in the trace anyway. So it's the same mission here. The difference being that you don't have to sacrifice an agenda, for Snatch or Grab to work. I've had it used against me before in a game online, and I will say that though it was annoying, they didn't really use it at the best time, and that was the problem. Like most other trace cards, it has to be perfect. You already have to have them. You already have to beat them on credits already to be for that trace. And what makes it so bad is if they really don't want to take that tag, everybody's running multiple copies of Katie. They'll just throw away that Katie Jones or their pro contacts or whatever the case is, and just not take the tag, and they'll just keep it moving. So I don't know. I kind of feel like it's sort of meh. That's really how I feel. I mean, there's a lot of cards in this pack I feel that way about, but this one for sure, it sits so much in the middle. It's difficult for me to say if it's great or bad.
Yeah, there was a question up here. S. John C. says, I'm pretty sure I heard that they can't New Angeles City Hall with this to take a tag and then immediately avoid it. To me, that makes sense because if you don't take the tag, you're not preventing this. It's almost like the thing with sacrificial constructs and Deus Ex. If you don't trash your Deus Ex, you're not preventing that damage, right? So you have to actually complete the action for the prevent to be done. So
Yep.
that makes sense that you can't avoid the tag or bounce the tag with. Yeah, I don't think this card it will see play. I think it needs to exist because we need to attack or have a way to fight connections in runners, but I don't see it. I don't see it happening with this. I mean, like you said, wouldn't you rather pump a mid-season trace or a C source rather and just make sure they get the tag?
Yeah, just tag them.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I think this card right now is completely unnecessary, but that's my
It's
take.
a bit disappointing because if this card was literally printed 6 to 8 months ago, I feel like it would have been slotted in a lot more decks. But we're at the point now where Corp's like fast events decks are winning so fast they don't care. Wayland decks have a much better strategy for kill to where this card's unnecessary. If you looked at 8 months ago where everybody was running a 2x of C source, then I could definitely see this card being used more often because it's a much better idea to kill off that early game economy and help Supermodernism score behind a remote a little better because they have the runner has no econ. But I mean now it's almost irrelevant.
This could be very easily, even though it does something totally different, it can be very easily compared to Bad Times. Remember, everybody was up in arms about that because what it would do is it would just get rid of that runner's rig and slow them down. Well, this would, get rid of their connection or their economy or whatever and slow them down. So it's the same kind of thing, but like no one used Bad Times, right? Or barely at all.
I think people are bad timing themselves these days with bad timing with the Echo Mind and Levy. I don't know if you guys have ever played against anyone that has destroyed their own rig because of that, but that's
Wow.
bad. That's bad times, bad timing. Oh, hey, Firefox is great at taking out shards. Oh, that should be Foxfire or something,
Yeah,
isn't it?
Foxfire.
Yeah.
It's backwards.
Do people let their shards sit out? I you just sitting around with your shard on the table.
I let mine marinate.
Just sprinkle a dry rub on it. I'll let Hades' shard sit out.
Oh god.
I still don't think Foxfire is being touched. Just to jump into the chat stuff. We have all these great counters to to certain cards, but it's
We don't
just nobody uses them.
No. No one bothers.
So Snatch and Grab. Anything else you guys want to add there? All right, interesting discussion. Merlin, Grail Ice.
Why don't you kick this one off, Jameson? Go for it. You've been experimenting with this thing.
Oh, Grail. Where do I start? I mean, we plan to do a full show probably on Grail. The Grail is very interesting. Excuse me. I feel Merlin is the card that you want to keep in your hand to pop net damage. Like six is a high res cost to pay. So especially if you can stack Merlins, unless you install a Merlin, have 2 Merlins in your hand, and just been like ba bam ba bam, then we're talking about fun times. Because that's 6 damage that they didn't expect. Now that's something that you can definitely do on a good draw with next design, but it just I don't know. I think I gotta wait till more of this Grail flushes out. I do love the fact that it's a damaging code gate though.
Yeah, that definitely makes it good, makes it unique, and makes it kind of unexpected.
Yeah, and like Rob said, the Foundry is really loving these Grails. I think it becomes less of a surprise in the Foundry because you keep pulling them out.
Yeah.
But it's doable. I mean, they made all these Grail Ice as one influence, so it doesn't take much to have a full set of 3, in any of the factions.
Yeah, it's a surprise in HB, that's for sure. Because you're always expecting the Bioroids and all that stuff, and then all of a sudden, boom, you get hit with one of these guys, and you're in trouble.
Although it's not so much as a surprise if you see one piece of Grail.
Yeah,
I think you got to know that they're there, right?
Yeah.
Have you guys played with Grail? Hollis, you guys doing anything down there? What? Are you on mute?
We can't hear you. Are you muted?
Sorry. No, yeah. We have a player locally. His name is Will, and he has been experimenting with a.
Is it Will Helms?
Yeah, actually, is he in chat?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. He's been experimenting with a Next Design deck that was running Next Design and Foundry. Excuse me. I think the two factions that he's been running with this, and I will say this. Even if those subroutines don't always hit, the fact that they are so taxing, both in credit cost and in what they're capable of, make it very annoying to get through. Because I mean, when you play anything with the Grail Ice, and Merlin is no exception, you are basically paying 2 and 3 credits every piece of ice, like regardless of strength, 2 to 3. This card being 4 strength is also nice, but looking at the card on its own merits, I agree with you. I wouldn't res this card. I wouldn't want to res this card, as something that was out. This to me feels like the Grail Ice I hold in my hand, because it's definitely the ice I don't want to trigger on me. I don't want to take the net damage. So if you res, is it Galahad? Is the barrier?
Yeah, that's just the one. See, but you know what the problem with that is that Galahad, the barrier sitting at 1 strength.
Oh gosh, oh, they'll kill it.
Let me tell you, man, that it was that was my first instinct in the games that I'm playing. Galahad down, Merlin, Lancelot in hand, or double Merlin in hand, and they're just like, oh well, I got my corroder here, and I'm gonna go through your barrier with 3 subroutines. Boom, boom, boom. It can be really tricky. That's why I think it's such a mind game to play. Like what Grail are people installing?
Yeah.
I mean, you want a good enough base. I mean, Lancelot's a base 2. That's a century. We just said Galahad. Merlin the code gate at 4. Um, I think I think the Grail is really powerful and really good, but once the surprise is over, you
You're
have
done.
you have a whole suite of ice in your deck that is just not doing anything for you because you're either got one or two pieces down and you're holding a crap load in your hand for the
Yeah.
whatever situation, and you're just trying to play around with that, keeping things in your hand. I don't know what it's going to be like when Excalibur comes out next pack. Um, but I originally really liked these, and then kind of I've been steering away from them.
I will say, playing against your HB that had these in there, that was a total surprise to me. And I was like, oh, this is all cool. Just kind of go about my game, lay down my resources, stuff like that. And I was like, okay, well, let's start face checking. Run there. And you're like, 2 damage. I'm like, well, there goes my Corroder and my Phantom, right? I was like, whoops, right off the bat. It slowed me down to nothing. So I don't know. There's a lot to be said for the surprise of the discards in a deck like that, especially since the rest of your ice suite was pretty taxing.
Yeah, Corey was saying that maybe corporate troubleshooter is a good idea to look into.
That would be great. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Um,
nice. Throwing two two Merlin, throwing 4 net on someone, ruins you.
Yeah,
It can ruin you.
Oh, totally. Right off the bat, especially in criminal, when you got really no way to pull your programs out of the grave anymore.
do you think you could play only one series of this? Like, could you only play Merlins?
Mm. Well, because it's one influence pip, right? There's better ways to use one pip to deal 2 damage.
No, I mean like one set, like three copies of Merlin, right? Like, or only one Grail type. Like, are you only going to play Galahad? Are you only going to play Merlin? Because like, or do you think you need to play the set? Do I need to splash in, you know, Galahad 1, 2, 3 influence, Lancelot another 3, Merlin another 3, Excalibur another, if it's one each.
I think you have to, or otherwise, what's the point? Because are they
If
individually? Are they good? Are they good enough to hold up to just other common ice? Right?
Well, I don't know. I think maybe you can. Yeah, one thumb up. I think that if you have a Merlin installed and you have 2 in your hand, and somebody wants to face check it, if they're not prepared for that, you could possibly surprise them. Um, the Lancelot is the what is it, the program destruction, I believe. Let me try and confirm. Yeah, trash a program. Um, I think those things are doing work for you with the surprise aspect of it. But the Galahad, the end the run, I don't know how much like a 2-1 end the run. I can think of better end the runs out there than that.
Yeah. So maybe when Excalibur comes out, you pull out the Galahad or whatever, and just throw that in instead, right?
Yeah.
Because you're doing just fine using only 3 sets. So you probably don't need 4 sets.
Remains to be seen. Excalibur is no influence. I'm getting confirms. Some people are agreeing with me, saying Merlin is the only good one.
right.
There are better cards to do, rather than take up all those slots with all Grail ice and bum your hand up.
Bung, nice.
Bum. You guys want to talk about anything else about Merlin? What's your closing thoughts on that?
Nope.
I hope I don't get hit with 3 of them.
Yeah, it's something to play with, but and it's an interesting mechanic in the game. Let's say that. We'll wait till it flushes out fully and see what happens. If you play one of them, how often would you draw all 3 to get any use out of them?
Like never.
Yeah, but see, that's why I don't know if playing the whole suite is worth it. though, right? Like, I don't think, like, do you really want to play every piece of Grail Ice? That's what I think that's the question. I mean, like, is it all or nothing with Grail?
Is having that particular suite of ice that does that particular stuff, is that better than spending your influence on something that could possibly win you the game? Right? Is that influence that you're spending, is that going to win you the game more than using that influence on X other cards to win you the game?
And then, you know, you need something like you know, they're saying maybe in CI, but you definitely need to adjust your hand size because, you know, like I said, half of this is the surprise that you're holding in your hand, right? And then now you're playing this game where I'm hand managing myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe just a theme deck. Okay, so that's Merlin. Shell Corporation. You know, we saw the AKA Mr. Lee already today, and now here's the AKA Cotty, as we've been told at Worlds. Cotty Jones. For all those people that have been saying Katie's.
I am still not convinced that Damon Stone isn't just pulling the wool over our eyes. He's like, oh yeah, I knew a Cotty Jones. I mean, I was like, you probably didn't. Her name was probably Katie, and then you just call her Cotty, and then make a card, and then still call that Cotty. So now you got like, you know, 50,000 people calling her Cotty, and it's not really her name. I don't know, man.
Cotty.
Cotty.
It was a Canadian thing for a while, I guess. The accent.
Yeah.
It came out Katie.
And you guys were right. Congrats.
So Shell Corporation, who wants to hit this first?
Go ahead, Hollis.
No. So I mean, basically, like you said, it's the Corporation Katie Jones. Initial problems. So for Runner, the reason why Katie Jones works so well is that there's not a lot of options that are similar, and it's much more difficult for the Corp to interact with that card after it's installed.
Set it and forget it.
Right. When we flip that, it changes how useful the card is completely on the other side. I'll let someone else add to that. Go ahead.
Yeah,
no, 100% right, man. Because like they can trash this stuff real fast, right? All it takes is a run instead of like a tag or a trace, then a tag, then to pay to get it gone. You know what I mean? Like it's so easy just to get rid of this thing. And like
I'm gonna
Cater
say
Experibus, right? Like
I like this card. I like this card for the reason that it's an upgrade. I can put this anywhere I want. I don't think you're going to get Cotty Jones returns out of the Shell Corporation, but I think you're going to be able to make a little bit of bank. But that being said, would you rather run a Grendel refinery instead of this?
I'm going to keep my answer short and say yes. But what I really am interested in trying is it's not just the econ card. The point you made is, I think, like the big thing about it is that it's an upgrade. So it's always, what am I playing with it? So if I'm playing RP or HB, if I place this in the server where my Caprice Nisei and my scoring server is, holy crap. I mean, basically, when the Caprice is rezzed, you pretty much just say, all right, not running there anymore, I got to go everywhere else. So when I can throw this down and just say, well, install, click, add 3. And you know there's Caprice there. And then I do some other stuff. Here's the celebrity gift, click, I add 3. That card could very well just gain you tons of money over time. It's possible.
There's still that, you got to play that game with yourself though, right? The how long can I let it fester before it's just going to draw too much attention. With Katie, it's really easy just to let her be and just keep you know what, I got nothing to do, click $3, click $3. And it's not uncommon to have like, 20-something dollars sitting under there and just waiting for the right time to get in, and they know they don't have a scoring window, so they fill up their hands and you go in their hand, right? So you can use her to your advantage. And then the benefit with her lies in the fact that the longer you let her go without using that click to pull the money off, right? If you have to keep like building her up a little bit, then using a click to pull the money off, build her up a little bit, click money off, all that stuff. All those clicks to pull the money off, they do add up over the course of the game. With this card, I feel like you'd be pretty afraid to let it build up too much. So you'd be using more clicks more often to pull the money off. And as a Corp, you have less clicks. So where's the balance? Also, again, we really shouldn't be comparing Katie to this because it's, asymmetrical and stuff like that. Yeah.
But that's you have to draw the comparison because it's the same.
Yeah, I know.
The same place 3.
But yeah, I know.
You can't use the same turn. But I mean, the Corp's always going to have a hard time because they have to defend it. I mean, if your corporation is not built to take out, like to tag and destroy, someone can just sit there with a Katie the whole time.
Oh yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So that's what's the the weird side of the corporation is. Fun combo in the chat here is Ball. He said Shell Corp plus the hostile infrastructure.
Shell Corp hostile.
Oh, okay.
Did you say Vol?
Yeah.
VOL?
Well, V0L.
Ah, it's Jared.
Well, I know. Thank you
very
okay. much.
I didn't know.
Do you want me? Are you going to tell me other ones too?
Yeah. Who else you got in there?
Hi, Ball.
So at least they're if they want to come and hit that Shell Corporation, they're going to be paying the price of a net damage as well. But I wonder how much do you want to protect something like this? Like we see in the chat, Rob's like, yeah, let's Caprice Shell and Ash. I mean, yeah, you're definitely not really going to touch that Shell Corporation, but that's a big investment, right?
It is. I feel like like in that scenario, similar to what I mentioned before, it'll fit there because that's kind of what that deck would do anyways. The math of this is also really weird. Like if you look at like you guys remember Netrunner Math or whatever it was .com or something like that?
No.
There was a site where someone had a blog site, and this is a while ago. I think this was like Creation and Control, where they were doing the math on the runner economy cards. And something they pointed out was that if you look at the way Katie Jones works in comparison to a card like Armitage Code Busting, so you load Katie once, next turn you unload her, not efficient. Load her twice, get a 6 off of her, not great, acceptable. 3, okay, now it's good. And then pretty much every time after that, it is effectively, that it has more than 3, it's effectively more efficient than an Armitage in like every way possible.
Yeah, see, I wish you had told me before. I'd have to do that math by myself.
So
there's an internet site out that did it for me.
Yeah. so oh my god. So basically, now that was runner side because they were able to compare existing runner cards and existing runner economy cards and determine how efficient this card was. So now you got to look at the Corp side, and the Corp side is vastly different, I think, in the way they generate econ. Because on the Corp side, you have a card like Melange that it's effectively the first time is a net gain of 6, and every time after that it's a net gain of 7, and you can do whatever math you want for how clicks equate to credits or whatever. Right. But then you look at Celebrity Gift, which with the full hand is effectively giving you 7 for 2 clicks, except you're giving them everything in your hand. So what's the value to you as the Corp for that information? And that's something that you really can't just calculate in, clicks equal credits and so on and so forth. Shell, I think, is also part of that weird math as Corp. It's just like you said, that risk should factor into the math of how efficient the credit gain is. The problem is that there's no good way to math that out. Like we can get the efficiency based on I load it 4 times and then I pop it for 12 for 1 click and I'm super awesome and I'm scoring and there's nothing you can do about it. But man, that card has to be protected so well if you're gonna do that. You can't just throw it down and do it. It's impossible. They will kill it before you ever use it.
Yeah.
What about using it for bait? like so feel this that you got maybe a couple agendas or something in a PE build, say, in the trash. You got a ShiQ, maybe you got shocks in there, right? Maybe you install this upgrade in the archives and click it toys.
Who said this?
They'll know you're up to something.
Who said this in chat
For what?
about this about that about doing that? Who
Oh,
mentioned that?
I have no idea. That's just me pumping it out now. If it was said in chat, maybe
Oh, I think
somebody did say something about ShiQ and shocks up there.
you and whoever else said the thing about ShiQ and Shock might actually be a step.
Rob, there's a archives with shitty Jinteki tricks. Yeah.
Jeez, I think why not? I mean, to me, that's just as valid as any other. To me, throwing it in with Shock, ShiQs, and a whole bunch of other threatening cards is just as valid as tossing it behind an Ash and Caprice. Because effectively, it's whatever you think is adequate protection, that risk versus reward scenario. And I mean, personally, as a runner, man, I don't know. If you toss two ShiQs, if I think there's two ShiQs down there, it might be worth. You might just have to get money. I don't know, because giving you infinite money loses me the game. -2 points could very well lose me the game. That sucks. Good idea. We're doing it.
I think it was. I think it's an interesting play, and I think maybe it's best at home in a Jinteki build with weird stuff like that.
Man.
Right? Like what about because you think that all those other weird traps that they have are assets, right? Remember, people used to put a snare protecting a Sansan until they needed it, right? Like just throw a snare on this thing. Let them come in. Maybe Jinteki. They always said Jinteki plays the shell game. Maybe that Shell Corporation is exactly what Jinteki needed.
Yeah.
Or instead of thinking it as, I'm not going to be able to get my money out of this, maybe that's the way the Jinteki tool in the tool belt kind of thing here. Another weird toy for the Jinteki world. Because I don't think you'll ever be able to get your value out of it.
Yeah.
Before it gets sniped.
Any other way, it's just weird because you can only use it once per turn. Like I said, with Grindel Refinery, I've seen people advance it and res and cash it in the same turn.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you really are in that much of a pinch. But everything else with this, to spend a click to put 3 money on it and just let it sit there, face up.
Yeah. And then you. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm so sorry.
I'm just gonna say that's bonkers. I had nothing else.
Looking at the way this card works, tying into what you just said, you lose some synergy also with other cards that fill that slot. Is it a Grindel Refinery, or is it an Aggressive Secretary, or a Cerebral Overrider, or a Project Junebug, or or a Shattered Remains, any other advanceable card that you can advance face down that could be an absolutely devastating blow to their deck. You lose that when you play this kind of an economy card. Whereas with the Grindel Refinery, if they run it and they hit it, I mean, you've lost advancement tokens, but they just don't know. Unless they're able to expose it, they just don't know.
Yeah, and then the only other thing like that would be like Thomas Haas kind of stuff, right? But
right,
nobody's really gone that distance. Interesting one from Vol is, you have a Project Junebug. That's an asset. In the same one as a Shell Corporation.
Tell him he's awesome.
You just want to load that Junebug up with as many little tokens as you want, and just click this thing all day. I mean, the more and more it flushes out, Um, I can't see a better home than in Jinteki for this. And maybe that's, you know, maybe Lucas is at home watching and listening and just, thinking, duh, right? Like, but I don't know. I don't know, guys. Would you play it in a Wayland? I don't think you played in NBN, right? Like,
No.
No,
and NBN's not gonna have the protection for it.
it's too easy to get.
Yeah, unless you're gonna ghost branch it with 100 tags, right?
Oh my God.
But I guess that's a different story. Um, Shell Corporation, Caleb, Hollis, you guys want to throw anything down there?
No, I'm good, man.
Well, that wraps things up. The pack here. It seems at the end of the cycle, you get a couple gems and some filler cards. I did go through this pack on the Corp side and think it wasn't anything too crazy. A lot of combo cards, it seems. Setups for a different style of netrunner that we're not seeing played today. But maybe it will force people to make those choices and expand the play style. Does anybody have any questions or stuff they want to hit us up in the chat? Do so now as we prepare to enter the last half hour. And Hollis, why don't you talk about some of your online presence? Can people find you on Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr?
So,
Craigslist.
Yeah.
Craigslist. No, we're done. Cut. No cameras. I online presence. I don't really have an amazing deal for that because I don't really tweet often. If you would like to add me on Twitter, the name is you can tweet me at Hollis Eacho, which is HOLLIS EACHO. That's my actual name. So if you would like to place my name on 4chan and get me trolled, please do not do that. Thanks. You can also add me on Facebook by searching that name. There's not too many people named Hollis.
It was funny though. Funny story when we did meet you and we're like, "Hi, I'm Hollis," but not that Hollis that you're thinking of.
Yeah, man. So if you think about it, like you have Jeff Hollis who wrote My Secret Love Affair with Jinteki, and not saying
And then disappeared from the game.
he's gone. He's a ghost. He doesn't. When I started playing and I was starting to get better at the game, that article had been written. He was miles and miles ahead of me, of where I was at that point in time, and he was the reason why I got this surge to get better at the game. So props to him if he's still paying attention to the game at all. But when I started going to regionals and plugged into and things like that, when I introduced myself, people were like, "Oh yeah, you're the guy that wrote that article?" And I'm like, No, your heart's broken. I'm so sorry. That just sucks. Yeah, that sucks.
So people can hit you up on the Twitter there. Are you active on any forums?
I am on StimHack. My name on StimHack is Xiaman, Xiaman. That's also a common screen name I have for my OCTGN account. So if you want to add me for OCTGN, so we can play some friendly games and or competitive games online at any time, please feel free to do so. Just let me know if you want fun jank or you're not gonna have fun playing decks. It just depends what your preference is.
So you range anywhere between rage quit and fun jank.
Well, it's based off perception, right? Like if you're a Johnny player,
It's not a range, just has those two choices.
That's it. There's hardcore mode and baby mode. You have to decide which one you play. Everyone has preferences, right? You have people who they're in the competitive community. NEH after NEH after NEH is fun. It's a challenging experience because the goal is to beat the best deck out there. And then for people who aren't, who don't like that, it's like they hate it. It's not fun for them.
It's work.
It's work. They're literally playing just to. They come after a whole day playing NEH. They come home and they're like mad and like, Like they argue with their wives and they're yelling at their kids when they sit down. Shut up. I mean, like that's what happens for some people when they play games like that. So it's good to have that variety to change it up so that the game stays fresh for you, but you don't also make it really boring for the other person you're playing against.
Caleb, you just want to read the chat for a quick second there?
Oh man, I can't now because I closed it because my internet was going.
Okay, well I'll read this one out for you. You got to answer this question.
Go ahead.
This is from Explosive. And
Okay.
He says, Caleb, it's 5:30 a.m. here. Do you recommend a poutine for breakfast?
Yes. I would recommend a poutine for absolutely every meal if you can handle it. I mean, the first week will be rough because you'll probably only have that one poo, but then after that, you're gold, man.
So back on track to Hollis. So Hollis, you're active on the Octagon
Poop. Yeah, I am. Also, this would be a great point to say, if you are not in the STEM Hack League right now, I recommend you do it. Just because
Nordrunner would be happy for your shout out there.
it's important. I mean, like, oh goodness, there's too much to say about it. It's nice to have your stats tracked, so you get a sense sort of where you stand as a player and how you can improve. And it's also kind of networking, right? Like when you're in this league, a lot of these guys are people that are posting on BGG, they're posting on StemHack, and you want to kind of know what I will say the pros. You want to know what the people that are at the top 10 and and so on and so forth are playing, so you can be aware of where the game is going, what decks are making the changing and becoming the gyms, I guess. You want to find those gym decks that everyone loves playing the most.
You want to break that down for some people?
Oh gosh,
Pokemon
RP.
Gym.
A gym. Alrighty. So GEM. So basically, this is a living card game, so you get new card packs that come out every single month. This is a positive thing, but that also means that the meta is always changing. Your great deck right now that has an 80% win rate can drop immediately if a card that is designed to completely meta bust it comes out next month. That is the way the game is. So when you play competitively and you see these, what I call these magical gems of decks that are being made, you want to kind of take a look at them and go, all right, what are you doing different? What changes have taken place, since the time you've been playing that is elevating your deck to the next level? Is it a card you thought that you overlooked that they're using that is smashing face, or is it a card that you put too much faith in that's really not as good? Things like StemHack and BGG and even this league, A&R, Bad Publicity, all of these things are keep you plugged in to being better at the game. And I encourage everyone, even if you don't know who I am, to just plug yourself into as many avenues of information as possible for the game if you're interested in taking your game to the next level. So that's my plug for Nordrunner. Join the StemHack League, listen to every podcast, read every article that you can, and just have fun. It's a great game.
Yeah, there's definitely, and the community does really come together. Like we saw, Brandon from Corp was in here talking to people in the chat today. So, you never know who's going to drop into the Bad Pub chat.
Right. They will never forgive me. I'm so sorry if I don't give a shameless plug. So just quick props to everybody in not only my local meta that I play with. So
yeah, where's that? Where's your local game store? When people passing through the area there, they want to come play a game with you face to face.
We did have 2 stores. One is closing. We have 1 store now. It's called the Deep Comics and Games. They are basically our central hub now for all of our games. We actually play 2 times a week. We play every Tuesday at the other game store and/or another location that we choose at random in our Facebook group, and then we play every Saturday at the Deep Comics and Games every morning till about from 10 a.m. to anywhere between 1 to 3 p.m. It just depends. Our meta it actually isn't huge. I think we only have maybe 12 to 16 people that actually play consistently. But it's nice. It's very comfortable. You get to know everyone, and I just want to give a lot of props to all those guys, who play with me week after week, who push me to play better. And then I have to give props to Corp Draw, who's given me countless shout outs on their channel as well, on their podcast. And they'll never forgive me if I don't give a shout out to Jason, Sean, Josh, and Brandon. Thank you guys very much for all your love. I appreciate it.
You have a little Octagon feud going on with Jason, don't you?
Here's the deal about Jason. So that man not only challenges himself to build things outside of the standard, but he's very good at it. He's very good at knowing how he's already a great strategy player, period. I can tell. But I want to bust his ego, and I think that's part of it. We both have a little bit of ego, and so part of the fun here I'm gonna mess around. I'm gonna mess around with his play style, and he messes around with mine. Do know
Brandon is still in the chat here.
Oh, nice. Welcome, Brandon. We're happy to have you. Still.
Yeah. So go on. Keep.
But no.
He's probably listening to you now. Now you're just.
I hope so. I hope so, Mr. Flanzer. He's really, really good, and he's definitely the kind of player that I think that because he plays a few different things, and that he is so he's a skilled player, he's the ideal person to play because he's gonna play things that challenge you because he challenges himself, and he's already good. And so right now, what it is every time we have a game thus far, at least the 2 games we've had, when he wins, he'll post a picture. And then when I won, he posted a picture also. And each one, we just basically talk crap to each other, give each other a hard time. It's good.
I thought you were going to say when you win, you just win gracefully and tip your cap and then be...
No! I guarantee when I win, what's happening is I'm muting my mic, but I'm like, got you, I did it. And he has no idea until he just saw this, and then he knows that's what happened.
Cool, man. Well, very appreciate your time, and even Brandon says Jason needs to be taken down a notch. So there's.
Hey, I'm trying my hardest. I promise. I promise, Jason, I'm coming again. Wait, pause. That sounded. You know what? I'm done. That sounded all kinds of wrong.
Click. Thanks a bunch, man, for taking time out of your day and your busy Octagon Jason stomping time to join us here and randomly mumble along with us. Thanks for throwing your opinions in the chats here. Thanks everyone for joining us. People waking up in Europe 4 o'clock in the morning to take part in this. So, we really appreciate that. Guys, if you have people that you'd love to see on here, let us know. We're going to really try and get as many people in different metas and stuff that we can. To show different pockets and corners of this diverse community that we have. Not everybody can make it out to Worlds to hang out and party with us. So this is our internet chat party here. With that being said, I think that about wraps this up. Thanks a bunch, Hollis. Appreciate it.
Hey, I'm really happy to be here, and I really appreciate you guys for adding me. Long time listener to your stuff, and I
first time caller.
First time caller. I absolutely love it, man. You guys do an excellent job. Your content is entertaining, and I enjoy listening. Thank you so much for contributing so far as to the community. It's important. I promise.
Mic drop. You're out. That's what it is. Caleb, thanks very much for showing up again.
You're welcome.
You do that very nicely.
Yeah, thank you.
Guys, see you next Monday.
Bye, everybody.
See you guys.